The fun one on Sunday.
Okay, if you keep doing this, I just extend the time.
No. Seriously, we came up with a good opening on Sunday. What was it?
I don't know, but you can. What?
You weren't there.
Ooh,
I wasn't there.
right.
Draz Sheep. What was it?
We were gonna make a joke about resealing deck glue.
Deck glue? What?
Yeah, because the decks were so poor.
We were gonna reseal
They were
decks
good.
and sell them on the secondary
No,
market.
I thought we were gonna pretend like they were sealed decks.
No, that's just what you do because you bring
Yeah. Well, I was
Archon
gonna-
decks to sealed tournaments.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Because
review
you're
my-
an asshole.
Double Dust Pixie Nature Call key charge
Yeah.
garbage.
I mean, it was
Dude,
it
do you
was all too
realize that
planned.
I lost by turn 4. He forged 3 keys. He went first and finished on turn 4.
Did you guys see this deck? Triple Dust Pixie's Nature Call Key Charge. Is that any good? That's not good, is it?
But I've never had a doubt. It's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you for once just to hear me out. So let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not, but I'll be here cause you're all that I got. I can't stand the way I did before. Don't turn your back on me.
But what's
Well,
going on,
and
guys? I am the one, the only, the WOOKIE, joined here by the normal cast of Misfits. We'll get into Drazvore's cheating in a minute. But we got Sheep.
Yes.
We got Ewok, JR.
Hello, Keyforge community.
And the Smoke Show, Drazvore.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Has that nickname stuck yet? I'm really trying hard.
I mean, we keep saying it.
We do keep saying it, but what were you going to say? I mean, we're talking about...
It was
Sealed.
just a feeder for when he loses at a top table again, and we get to call him the choke show.
Right.
Ugh.
Absolutely. The Choke Show. Ooh, I like that. I dig that.
Me. That's me. I never win anything.
That
I don't know.
you win more than me, I would
Yeah,
say.
I mean,
I play
Wh-
more
wh-
than you. I mean, it's
what
just
I'm looking
odds.
what I'm looking at is that KFPL Sheep moves on, so you must have won something.
Yeah.
Oh no! I am facing Maverick in the KFPL, and his low deck is a 90. He's got some monsters. It's not looking super promising, but yeah, I'll do my best.
You got Square Bus.
That's
No, I
sass
don't.
mean.
Wait, what?
Not
Did
in
you
the KFPL, I don't.
Oh, that's right. I was going to say, it's a bus that's square. How can it lose?
Do a bus that's round.
Well, lots of round buses running out there. But what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining. We got a ton, well, not a ton to go over, but we do have some stuff and things that we want to kind of highlight here at the beginning of the show, like we normally do. Drazvore would like to, I guess, highlight ABR. Drazvore, what you got for ABR?
ABR's great. I didn't put this in here. Somebody wanted to say
Oh,
something
I
about
thought you
ABR.
did.
No,
Because you
I-
also put in the show, you also put in the Discord chat, could also talk about ABR, sealed adaptive.
Oh, so that's the
Well,
sealed
that-
adaptive. That's one of our short topics. So we'll
Mhm.
hit that in a moment.
So
Oh.
I think that ABR is going very, very well. It's a fun team. Got a great team. I'm enjoying. I will say Triad was a little bit rough on our individual team. I tried to go ahead and play some hard R with DT, and DT let me down. Let me down real bad.
What?
But
DT best set ever. It let you
Act-
down?
Actually, it has straight Amber Burst, and it had a lot of potential, but I needed to have one of the Amber control cards, and that didn't happen in 2 games. So some days, I think that there's a podcast or something that says draw better.
Yeah,
Meh.
we should
Eh.
listen to that one. Whoever
Yeah.
it was, you should listen to it. As my daughter
But
is
a
flipping out.
ET delivered.
A key cheat delivered? Is a key
No, my
cheat saved?
DT.
Yeah.
I played a
Oh,
DT deck with
DT
field adaptive
delivered.
as well.
Okay.
Barely. And it only delivered because goofy interactions were going on. So Kaup, the deck I was playing against had a Kaup, which is the 2-power unfathomable creature that says you can only play one of each type of card, so 1 action, 1 upgrade, 1 creature, 1 artifact. That's all you can play per turn. And the deck also had 4 of the 7-power taunters. So it was real
Is
hard.
that what's
You-
his name?
The Seabringer.
Yeah,
Is
Or
it
whatever.
Seabringer?
Yeah.
Oh, a Seabringer.
I can
Seabringer
picture the
go.
art in my head, but I can't remember the name to save my life.
Arts don't have art.
The-
Oh, I
well,
like the art on that one. I think it's cool. Like
there are a lot of cards that like I can picture the art and tell you exactly what it looks like, but I have no idea what the name is. And then
Okay.
there are plenty
I
of
can do the
cards where I
opposite.
could not. Yeah, I was gonna say there's plenty of cards too where I know what they do, I know the name, but I couldn't even tell you what they look like.
I might actually fail the art test if I was to just get given a bunch of pictures of cards for Keyforge and be like, "What is it?" I get the house.
Name
And
that
that'd be the end of my
Pokemon.
Yes, I can't do that.
Dan
Pokemon
loses
either,
If you
every
but,
time.
if you needed to fill in the blank, most likely, if you had like selection of cards, you've seen like the titles there. You've seen so many cards. I guarantee you could deduce it.
I wouldn't get Sanctum creatures. They're all just dudes in armor.
yeah, those are hard. Yeah.
So,
Hey, let's be fair. There's a lots of females in armor as well.
but like,
That's
Help
true.
really kills Think Twice.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting interaction, right? Because Think Twice says play it, pick an action from your discard, play it, and purge it.
You've
But
already played
you
it.
can only play one action, so it doesn't work. And then the other card that I had for dealing with him was a Mind Barbs, but I could only draw actions with my Mind Barbs, so I could only play one action, which is not 2 damage to kill this cow. It was rough. So that was a very, I don't know, I thought it was an interesting interaction with DT cards. And there was another one that I was talking about. And of course, I can't remember what it is now because I'm.
Welcome to
Space
my
Cat.
world. Getting old.
Yeah, but-
we're getting old.
But you're talking DT for sealed adaptive.
Well, yeah,
this
but
past-
just interesting interactions
Yeah.
in general. The other one was another card that you don't see played a lot called Diplomancy,
Mhm.
which it's a bad action from Saurians with alpha on it, and it says play it, and until the start of your next turn, creatures gain before fight exalt this creature. So before they fight, they have to exalt. But I had a Sensor Philo playing my Amber Bank in that game, so I had a Sensor Philo with a bunch of Amber on it, and his plan was to fight it down, but I played that Diplomancy, so every creature that fought would get an Amber on it, and then Sensor Philo says he can't take damage from creatures with Amber on him, so he couldn't actually fight it down. Now, this is not good, but it was fun and interesting interactions that you wouldn't necessarily think about because they're kind of edge case stuff, because they're cards that don't get a lot of play. But that made DT fun for me and adaptive. Like,
Did you win?
I barely won.
Hey, winning is winning.
Yay.
And mostly because of that Diplomancy, and he went into a fight turn and then started fighting and went, oh no, realized his mistake. And it's like, what can you do to, can't really turn that back.
Right.
So,
You can go into manual mode. I've heard the concede buttons on the top right. That's what I've heard. Word on the
I-
street.
It is.
I'm a fan of the concede button. When I get, when you play the last card on your turn and I know I have no answer for it and no Amber control left, I will hit the concede button. I don't
You
feel
don't
the
take
need
a
to play out
spite
that
turn?
I do not feel the need to finish out the game. I have lost the game. You don't need to see what else I can do. Good game, you. I'm going home.
I need the moral victory. Just like playing Pit Lord for no apparent reason. Because I can.
It's not a spite turn. It's playing it out so that your opponent has the joy of taking that solid victory. Just finish it to the end.
I mean, hey, whatever helps you sleep at night, I call it a
He
spite
got
turn.
the win. He got the win. Let's get on to the next round.
Okay, fair enough. Is it best of 3?
In this case, it was adaptive.
It's
So,
adaptive?
it was
Okay.
standard adaptive.
All right. So, sounds very
And I
much
will
like
say-
sheep.
Well, but I'll say for ABR, they did some really nice different events. We saw adaptive best of 3, saw tried best of 3. Exchange is coming up for next week. You have a 60 SAS cap and then sealed adaptive. And then we have it for later, so maybe more jump down to the sealed adaptive. But last season for ABR, my individual team had some really, really, I'll say, unlucky pulls. And it wasn't a matter of that our decks were off, but the decks that we were playing against, they were extremely, they were much, much better. And I like the idea.
The evenness of the seal pulls is not guaranteed at all in ABR,
Correct.
which made
And
adaptive, I guess, better for that, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Throws that out.
I
Well,
thought it was
'cause-
fun. Like, I had not done sealed adaptive before, and I was unsure of how I would think about it. But I thought it was kind of fun to do the adaptive thing where you're trying to measure your opponent's deck and figure out how it's going, but to like discover it as you go, as opposed to seeing the deck list up front and thinking about, oh, they have that. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that, or I'm gonna have to think about if I have any way, to protect that guy, or those sorts of interesting thoughts and questions as you're playing through the game and still trying to win the game. I thought was pretty fun.
Sealed adaptive actually might. I've never done it, but it sounds like the most fun because I like sealed. Because I feel like when it comes down to sealed, like anybody has a shot. You know what I mean? Like as long as you're a competent player, you have a shot. I mean, geez, Drazvore's won a few. Just saying. No, I'm just playing with you. Drazvore is a fantastic player, but. You know what I mean? Like, you really, I mean, as long as you are competent, you get a opportunity. You know what I mean? It feels more any given Sunday than Archon does.
Pulling good
definitely helps.
To do well in a sealed, right? Like,
yes.
You get 3 crappy decks, like you might be able to go, you might be a great player and you can go 4-2 with them, but that doesn't make day 2 in a Vault Tour style event.
True.
So, yeah, adaptive kind of fixes that, right? Like, you at least get a chance no matter what. Even if you open to 50 and your opponent opened to 90 somehow, like, you have a chance at least to play, where typically in that situation you're
just
like a 0-0.
You hit the concede button and move to the next game. Right.
So
yeah, but when you travel for a Vault Tour, it's frustrating, and so I like that idea for sealed adaptive. The problem comes, I mean, we saw this with Keyforge Live. To run an adaptive or a best of 3 event does give an advantage to the skilled player, but it really adds time to the day. And having run multiple events, you're just not going to see it happen.
It gives advantage to the heavily
invested
endurance player.
Yes.
The guy who can sit all day and do it.
Yeah. But I'll say, I mean, last season when we played for ABR, one of the decks, and it wasn't even the top deck, was that showed up for our opponent was Dave Cordero's 5 Ed deck, which is well known. And I mean, it was randomly pulled, but you're like, oh, we have nothing that's close to that. And that wasn't even the best deck that they were playing. And so I like the idea for adaptive in that you now have a chance to pilot it. Let's go to game 3 and bid some chains and see who can go ahead and play their deck best, who can go ahead and see how the decks go ahead and stack up against.
Is short adaptive now an official format? I know FFG had acknowledged it, but I don't know if they ever put it. And I guess I might have to go look at the updated rule book because I haven't looked at a rule book in a long time.
I'm gonna guess it's not in there.
Yeah,
my guess is it's not either. Well, no, because like it was at a Vault Tour, wasn't it? Like. Yeti ran sealed adaptive as a side event. Yeah, it was a side event, but
there's been various interesting side events, right? But
they also did a SASCAP side event once. So
did
that
they?
doesn't? Yes,
I don't remember that.
It was like a 60 or 65.
That was not Gen Con, but the second indie.
Well, Albany had one too
for Worlds Collide. The second indie event, right? When we went for Worlds Collide, they did a SASCAP one. I don't remember that one for some reason.
So.
I don't remember that one. But a few topics to get into. We do want to give a shout out to Amber Meaties. He did a fantastic video. I'll put the doobly-doo in the link below so you guys can go find it. You guys just heard a smidgen of it there for like a second, but I'll put it down there. Bring back Keyforge. We watched it right before we got on. Guys, what'd you think?
I thought it was really well done. I think Rickster said he got him in the feels, right? Like, you saw a whole bunch of images and video of, days past and animations from FFG of yore, but also, TTR. You saw Mordivas. You saw a whole bunch of different
lacked sheep, from what I'm told.
Yeah,
the lack of sheep.
It was a lack of sheep.
But I'm self-obsessed.
I mean, while we would like to see a little bit of AC that's there, the end result is it was very well done. It allowed us to be able to reminisce on Keyforge when people were meeting in person when we had vault tours, and the potential for the set. And this game has always had a huge potential. Pandemic has definitely slowed that down. You could see even when we were masking up in the video. But again, Ambermadius, you did a great job with it.
We never found ourselves a Nemesis podcast, did we?
Oh,
No, because there's only 3 of us.
There's actually only 2 of us now.
No, there's 3.
Help from Future Self and
KFL.
And KFL.
Yeah.
The Nordic Keyforge.
Oh, Nordic Keyforge. Nordic Keyforge,
Yeah,
sure.
they're still going. Yep.
I was going to say, I just
So I have to say, I missed the having a
Call of
super weird
Discovery's
intro voice.
Vaguely trying to do something.
They just announced on their Twitter that they are going into slumber until
lazily doing something.
Yeah, they're going into they're going into slumber until
That's the only one that's the one that scares me the most because they had the most direct interaction with FFG people. So that they've got nothing to live off of makes me a little sad.
I mean,
they are going to do their 100th musical episode or whatever. They said they're still working on that, which will be fun. But yeah, then it'll be sad to not have them for a time.
Okay. I mean, these when it comes down to podcasting too. I mean, there's so many podcasts, to be honest with you, that come and go. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
There's a lot that do 2 or 3 shows that never go anywhere.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's interesting, right? Because, I mean, even in the... How long has AC been around? Is it 2 years, 3 years now? Is it 3 years?
Yeah, 3-year anniversary.
Yeah, we did 3 years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even just in our 3 years, we've seen how many Keyforge podcasts come and then no longer do anything anymore. Even when Keyforge was at its peak, they do like you said, you do 2 or 3 shows, and then all of a sudden, they're gone.
As you are more aware than most, like it is a lot of work to make a podcast, and there is no money. Like, I mean, some podcasts get to make money, but not a Keyforge.
We are not Joe Rogan over here. We are not making money at all. At all.
Yeah, Kickstarter. What do you think?
Kickstarter?
How do we Kickstarter?
We have a Patreon.
We have Patreon. So, yes, you could support our habits and even just stopping by on Discord and saying, hey, thank you. We appreciate it. It does help keep this rolling for ideas, for motivation. There's a lot of time that's put in, if nothing else.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, one of the biggest things is I mean, there's no money in it. You're going to spend more money than you make. Even now, freaking Spreaker won't allow me to use, or allows me to use the same coupon I've been using for 3 years. So,
What's going on?
What's that? Spreaker? Yeah, they stopped. I used to have like a 40% off coupon. And then this last go around, they're like, yeah, you've been using the same coupon for like 3 years.
They wised up.
And so no. And I'm like, damn. Because it wasn't too bad. It was $20 a month. Now it's $40 a month, $40 or $50 a month, one of the two. And it's just like, you bums. Well, let me use my coupon. I have a coupon. But yeah, they got smarter, and they're like, seems to be you've used this coupon before many times. It's like, no. But what can you do? You win some, you lose some, you move on. I still enjoy getting with you guys every week, even though it's a mad scramble on Wednesday to figure out what the hell we're going to talk about on Thursday.
Hey, we have the list.
We do have the list.
There's so much information coming from FFG. We really have to pare it down and decide.
Just buckets of information. Buckets of information. No, I mean, and again, I have to get better at it too, because like all of a sudden I'll be like, that's a great idea. And I'll be like at work in my store, and it's like the one that I came up with for today. I had that idea like 4 or 5 days ago. And like, I just never wrote it down. So then I just forgot it until like I'm doing like jewelry count. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I remembered. And I actually wrote it down. and
Gotcha.
putting it in Discord, going like, here's an idea, guys.
I think that it was all about our game yesterday, Draz. That we set
right.
up. I mean, for sealed.
Should we talk
or
about
that was
that?
Tuesday. We should.
Tuesday?
The
Yeah.
Drazvore,
This-
the Drazvore, the miracle on ice, known as Drazvore.
I don't.
They're
don't
gonna
think
make
that
a
was
Disney movie
miracle,
about it.
But
Yikes,
I will say I was absolutely humiliated by Drazvore on Tuesday. So there you go. I
Yeah.
pull an deck, and this is where I need to play sealed adaptive. Drazvore, you went first, and I don't remember what you played.
Like a Sanctum Knight or something. Like
Yeah,
some big body to kill whatever you put out, I think. Yeah.
It was a big body. Okay. I responded with Sweet DT, and I'm going to have you discard a random card from your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at him laugh at it now. Look at him laugh at it. Okay. So
I love the little, like, you could just hear him smirk. Like, you can't see him, but you could totally hear, like, the shit-eating grin he just had on his face.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's great because I discard, and it was what? A Sanctum creature, something else that was
Something
absolutely
stupid.
pointless.
Something
But
that did not matter.
I finished my turn, play out some creatures because I'm playing I got some creatures. And he laughs, and he's like, yeah, you didn't hit what you needed to. And his next turn was it is Coda. Dust Pixie, Nature's Call, Dust Pixie,
I was
Dust
gonna
Pixie.
say, did he happen to bounce 2 Dust Pixies and play them again?
Yep, and he returned one of my creatures.
Oh,
and
nice.
Then oh wait, he's not done. Puts Witch of the Eye out and puts and plays Key Charge.
Such a gentleman, that Drazvore.
Well, he
He's
was
like-
nice. He only played one of his 2 Witch of the Eyes he had.
True. This is true.
It made me laugh because I had a chance to discard I don't know any of those other cards and I might have been in a better spot. But yeah, he destroyed me. And then because of the bounce, I didn't have enough to be able to kill. I don't know if the one creature he left I think was too small, so it couldn't actually take out his Witch of the Eye.
Yep.
So if I didn't draw into direct damage right there because I didn't really have it in that deck. So his third turn, he went ahead and basically forged the key. He conveniently went back to Untamed. I know that was a shocker there. But you made the choice to actually pull Nature's Call. And that was pretty much game because on turn 4, he forged 3 keys and I lost.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the reason I'm laughing is because like this is a sealed deck I pulled, and the Untamed House was pretty crazy, and this was the hand I drew, and then he even played Mind Barb or whatever, or maybe it was a subtle auto.
It was a subtle auto.
Yeah, and hit the only card in my hand that I didn't care about. Like any other card in my hand that I lose, I'm like, and then, which by the way is why I think we talked a little bit about this when we talked about D, but I think part of the reason there is some dislike out there for some players about that opponent discard thing, because like sometimes you can get big and you can hit that Nature's Call, and sometimes you just discard, the Sequus, and you're like,
that no one cares about. No, I honestly, I had to laugh.
Dexter Forum, and they say thank you.
Yep. Oh, that. Yep.
Or their bad penny.
Mm-hmm.
I will say for sealed adaptive, you still have, if you don't have efficiency, you can really have big swings with when playing sealed. So your Untamed House, frankly, could have been stacked all at the bottom for me if we had switched. But to be able to see that Untamed House, it was an amazing Untamed House. It was pretty comical to go down in 4 turns, but it's sealed. Who cares? We played another game in our time, and that was a lot closer, but I still ended up losing in the end. And we went on to the next round and played some more games, and I faced people who are more in my league with a middle tier SAS deck, so we're good.
Hey, I have Keyforge news. I don't have Keyforge news.
Yeah, no.
I am pointing out how little news there is. OP, The last OP post was February 17th of 2021.
Yeah.
It's the last time OP officially posted anything on the website.
Mm.
And more fun is on the Organized Play website, there is a product legality tab. And under that tab is a Keyforge legal product tab.
Hold on, where
and
is
under
this?
that, it only lists Call of the Archons. So put away your DT, guys. Put away your best set AOA. MM is no longer any good. Kodo.
I mean, I just did the Coda sealed, and obviously worked well for me. So
Coda, is this
get
for
on
like
board.
the 6th Coda print run or what?
There you go. I just put it in our Keyforge chat. It was last updated in 2019.
Nice.
It still lists legality for Legions, Imperial Assault, Destiny, and Armada. So, yep. Good job keeping stuff up to date, guys. Killing it.
But in a different topic, I will say Vault Keeper sign-up's still live. I know that this usually releases a week later, but May 13th is the last day, and Vault Keeper number 2 will be happening May 14th, 15th, and if you win more than 50% of the games between the 2 days, the 21st is day number 3, where you're going to choose a deck from your DT, MM, or Glide.
And I need a baller DT deck, so somebody loan me one?
better start opening.
Get to
See,
opening.
I actually really enjoy my DT deck. It has performed very well for me. You can definitely see where its weakness is when it comes to top tier in your triad. I think it has the ability to do some wonderful pieces. It can spit out amber like nobody's business at 38 expected amber. The Untamed is there. There's lots of different tricks. I think that DT actually brings quite a bit of artifact control. I tried something different. It's ABR, and why not play it for Triad and NC? It was still the weakest deck, and I had other decks that probably would have done me better. But hey, that's what ABR is all about, and have fun with it. But bring out your DT. Go ahead.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with DT in this Vault Keeper, because last time we are like, oh, DT won. Of course, you only can choose between your MM DT. This one, you're going to have an MM, a DT, and a Worlds Collide to pick from. Coming into day 3, what's the chance a DT deck makes it this time?
Well, I think that what we were seeing last time is DT brought quite a bit of Amber Rush. With that, we also saw Roof.
Oh. Did I lose Ewok? Hello? I can't be the only one here. All right, let's try this again.
Also really, really important.
Oh, there we go. I got you back. I lost you guys for a second.
Oh.
Huh.
I don't know. It
Did
just
you
was
lose our
really
audio
strange.
too? This is a nice
Yeah,
dead spot.
yeah, no, it's
recording.
I just all of a sudden Ewok was saying things like he was saying Ember Rush and then he was just gone.
Oh.
It was
It's
really
a good
strange.
thing cheap backup records.
Yeah, we're not going to
Connotation.
we're not going to
But not his own microphone.
Yeah, we're
Just
not
everybody
going to
else's.
we're not going to use that one. Yeah,
But I will say, outside of Mechabooey, I think for Shadows,
I was
Trickle
just
Down
about to say
Theory-
that Mechabooey because I
Well-
think he just got a really nice roll and went up against all MM, so that meant Mechabooey was real good.
Yes, and
What, that could happen again?
Mechabooey.
It could.
Mechabooey
It definitely
is,
could.
Mechabooey is really good when your opponent has to take chains, or they're giving you an amber or 2 amber. And I think the other side of that is Trickle Down, where it has the tide effect, but it's Omni. So Omni being a really important piece here, gain 1 if your opponent has 6 or more. So when we're looking at the amber rush that can come from DT, it poses real issues for your MM. However,
Worlds Collide, you have the opportunity, and I do believe, and I might be wrong. I might be really wrong on this. WC, I believe, still has too much to protect in it.
that's what I'm going to, is that
Yeah.
you have some bigger swing cards, and that is what is going to be very interesting to see. Do you bring your Worlds Collide that has essentially scaling amber control?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Well,
it's always yes.
but the answer is the deck that ended up winning for DT did have the Mecha Buoy, did have Trickle Down, but it was not going ahead, and it didn't have the Untamed Suite, if I remember correctly.
What's crazy is that
it
you
didn't
could
have Super Burst.
Mecha Buoy does not give you the option, correct? It's not like you may gain 1 ember. You have to gain 1 ember.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's at the start of your turn.
Oh, is it at the start of your turn? I thought it was the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fine. Was it at the start of your turn or before you? Is it after you forge a key? Or hold on, timing is
So
timing is essential here.
Mecha Buoy is a Logos artifact with an Amber Pit item. At the start of each player's turn, if the tide is high for that player, they gain 1 amber. So it's at the start of your turn. So it's getting around. You're not getting it off of.
It is, yeah. So it gets around too much to protect to a degree.
Correct.
So does Mecha Buoy trigger and then you go to your forge a key if possible? Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you can get around a doorstep.
It can't get around a door. Well, I mean, technically, it can't get around a doorstep, sure, but I mean, it's going to be interesting because MM I don't believe has a ton of scaling umber control, and that's kind of one of its that's like its biggest flaw in MM. Is like 0 scaling ember control. I shouldn't say 0. There's a few. There's Anthony, which is just ember pinata. But
there's Effervescent Principle.
EP is there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you got a lot more in Worlds Collide. Plus, you have all the shenanigans that I don't know if DT can get around. Got artifact control that it does have, but I'm talking your not banish, exile, right?
Okay.
Saurian card exile shenanigans, and stuff like that. And Edai is not. I don't know. Edai is an MM, but I feel like Edai is better in Worlds Collide. Is not an MM?
No, he's not. He returned for
DT.
Yeah. So Edai is really nice for key increase cost to be able to impact for DT. It also allows you to archive. I think that Star Alliance was seen quite a bit and actually did much better for DT than people were originally planning or thinking. But it's going to come down to matchups, just like any Keyforge game is going to go ahead. But for the tournament, yes, DT did finish on top, and it finished.
I feel like this. I feel like Keyforge should be sponsored by Depends, because this game is such a Depends game.
I thought it was sponsored by Spicy Mountain Dew. I thought
Flamin' Hot Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Love it. I have a video of us trying it. I'm gonna post it once I put that video. Once I put that thing up. Once I put the episode up. Yeah.
Let's check that out.
Yeah. It's not as awesome as you think. Now I hear it's really good with alcohol.
I mean,
I could see that.
What doesn't get better with alcohol?
I have never had a good Pepsi drink. I mean, I guess if you like Coke and you're not a Coke person, but you drink
rum
Pepsi.
and Coke. It's not like so part of the problem is that there are a ton of things that make booze worse. Right, that's the problem. Not the other way around. It's like you could have just drank the booze.
All right, let's get into our topic for today. Drazvore, this seems like an episode, and speaking of our Patreon, me and Drazvore, and maybe we can get, I'm sure at some point we can get Ewok and Sheep to kind of do some fun stuff on the Patreon. We want to give you guys more, maybe it's not totally Keyforge, focused, but give you a little something on the Patreon. It's been something I've been meaning to do literally for 3 years and just never gotten around to it. So
I did have.
You mean it's not highly focused like this podcast is right now?
So hyper focused, you have no idea.
Okay.
Hyper focused.
Today's topic, Wookie, what'd you come up with?
So This is something I've been thinking about because we always talk about going to time rules and how unfair they are, yada yada. So I was like, what about going first, right? Because going first, like, I know at one point in time, and I don't remember the percentage, I could pull a number out of my butt, which is what Archon's Corner does best. But I know, I know that the winning percentage was heavily skewed against whoever went second. But we don't talk about that. That's not something that's often spoken about, right?
I was actually looking for that. I was trying to find that post. Or
this was back in like Coda or AOA days when people were still keeping track of it.
Find it.
I couldn't find it either, but I know it was heavily skewed, right?
Yeah, it was something that Grant's tracker kept track of.
Okay,
right.
That's where it was from. Yeah. I did, yeah.
But either way,
and I think
I just thought, like, going first, this is one of the few games where you win a dice roll, right? Or whatever, because we don't use dice, so, however you're deciding to determine who goes first.
Daring contest.
Yeah. However you decide to go first, because you can't use dice, even though most people do. You don't get a choice. You're not like, hey, I want to go first, or I want to go second. And, like, there's a lot of decks out there. See, like, but if you look at, like, Magic, like, it's heavily skewed to, like, who's going first, and then, like, that's the person that wins more times than not. So I'm just wondering, like, is there any, do you guys mind the, like, being forced? Like, if you win, you have to go first, or you have to go second. And do you have a preference of going first or second?
Well, to the first question, no, I don't mind it. I kind of like that it's a little bit of a random element, and you, with your deck, you have to be prepared for what do I do if I go first versus what do I do if I go second. And what do I do, meaning from two aspects. One, the mulligan question, and two, how do I want my hand to play out, or how do I want my deck to play out if I'm going first or second? So I think that's an interesting angle that I like about the game. Whereas if I won the coin toss and I could choose, right, it would lose that interesting element.
I feel like there's not buckets and buckets. Like, there's some cards that are like, okay, I want to see this turn one. Right? Eureka, great first turn play. Ember Imp, great first turn play. I'm trying to think of some other good first turn play cards. Dan?
I think that's, well, I'm opinion going first is better.
Really?
I'm a generally click first guy, and it's because there are those few cards that make such a game warping effect. Being first, it matters. Like, there are a lot of cards, I think, in this game that if you play them on first turn, it gives you a very big advantage. Plus, I think my play style is reactionary decks, and all your kill creatures cards that do nothing on turn one or on turn two because you're playing into their nothingness feels bad. So I much prefer to play one card and then react to them. Like, I want one heavy hit card and then be on the reactionary.
On a separate note, I will give a shout out to Nordic Keyforge League's NKFPL. Their podcast did recently talk about mulliganing, which Drazvore, I agree with, I think needs to be talked about. I think there are lots of different options. You only listed a handful of them, but Quixel immediately jumps out. Turn one Quixel versus late is huge. The ability to place, frankly, a taunter that's out. Draz, in our sealed game, you're talking about Sanctum having that body. That has a chance to be able to respond. There are just certain cards that you want to be able to see right away. Obviously, yes, a card that is any archiving that will allow me to go ahead and dump cards to draw more and then to save those key cards for later. Those are really important. I will personally say that I think it depends on the deck type that you're playing. I think that heavy I should say heavy creature decks from MM and Worlds Collide like and prefer to go second. They can push more cards out, be able to build that board, and it's a creature rush, and so you have to be able to respond. I think that from my experience, a number of our initial Coda cards, Coda decks like to go ahead and play first and be reactionary. I will go ahead and save those big hitters that I might have, but I'm just going to be pushing Amber, and I can generate Amber quickly. So that's what I've personally seen. It does depend on the deck. Again, depends. It depends on the deck. But overall, those are some of the trends.
Sponsored by Depends for Men.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely it depends. But is that their motto now? Definitely it depends. But so I'll agree with some of the things you said and disagree with some of the other things you said. So, so you mentioned Quixelstone. I don't think there's any real advantage to be first turn versus second turn with Quixel, right? Because
no, first or second, but I'm saying if you have Quixel that's early versus coming out on turn 7,
first
yes.
Turn Quixel is way better. They can only then play one creature.
Well, but think about if you're second player, right?
They can play
your opponent
5 creatures.
No. If they're first player and you're second player, they play one creature.
Oh, yes,
their turn is over.
Okay.
Then you play Quixel, right? And so that one, Quixelstone is not a card where I'm like, I hope I am the first player to act. Whereas there are other there are other cards that do push me in that direction. Now you mentioned
Fangtooth Cavern.
No,
I love it. I love a turn 1 Fangtooth Cavern.
It can be. So that I think that's one where it sort of depends on what your opponent has, right? Because obviously you have time to react to it, but at the same time, it can be very powerful to get them to be like, oh, shoot, he got the Fangtooth already. I already have to change my mind on what I'm doing. That, playing out that Ember Imp suddenly isn't that great. Like, playing my Restiguntus, this is not going to help me, right? Like, whereas in other scenarios, like other decks, it's like, well, I can just play around that, or hey, I've already got my artifact controlled hand, super, right? So it sort of depends on what your opponent has there.
Yeah, and maybe T1. Maybe go ahead.
I would say I think a T1 Quixel can be good.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely it puts your opponent in like a weird scenario, right? Because now, especially, again, against it's you're going up. It's set dependent now, because going up like against like an MM deck, you're like, oh, I get to play 1. That's it. Where like creatures are so heavy. Quixel v like AOA, like you put them in this weird scenario where it's like, okay, what? Now you got to prioritize, because you can't just play cards, and at the same time, you don't want to just chain yourself, right? Because if you hold, you're just, okay, so now I get to draw a card, as opposed to like maybe 3. I think it puts them on their back heels right away.
So the only piece about Quixel, and Quixel probably is a bad card to look at because you're looking at turn 1 or turn 2. You're not impacted a ton. If I place it on turn 2, I see that as being fairly comparable. I guess I was talking about more late or mid turn, but yes, we are talking here going first or second. I think some cards that you're looking at, Treasure Map, being able to gain quite a bit of Amber Burst from it. Going ahead and looking at the Tear, again, Amber Burst. You see certain cards can generate a lot of Amber, and they can go ahead and allow you to archive. That seems to be an important item that I am looking at when I want to go first. So there is an advantage, but it just depends on what you want to be able to get out of your deck. What's your deck's main idea?
Dan's the first one I've ever heard that says, like, I like to go first. I've never actually heard anybody going, like, I prefer going first.
I also like AOA, so I play a lot of Eureka decks.
and for
Eureka,
Eureka,
AOA.
But Eureka, you like that. I mean, that's a huge swing to be able to
Sure.
archive 2 cards
Mhm.
and to generate the amber that's coming off of Eureka.
Right.
And there's very little downside. I will say that for NKFPL, they talked about the idea for mulliganing, that at 7, you actually have a better, like you have a higher probability to be able to mulligan into cards that you want versus going ahead and going second. And the idea of, do you mulligan and what's the chance of it being a worse hand after the mulligan? Those are all concepts that
It
have to be
depends.
kept
If you're
in mind
playing
with your deck.
TCO, it's probably going to be the same hand.
It does show up what seems to be at a higher random rate than what I am used to, just by shuffling myself, but it is still technically random.
I'd love to believe you.
It's
I don't know. Every time I mulligan on TCO, I end up seeing. So here's something I've noticed on TCO, and this might just be total like, what am I, like superstition? I guess would be the best way I could put it. If you don't create the game, you will more than likely go second
well, wait, but did you spin your mouse clockwise 3 times
and do the hokey pokey and turn myself about
before you join the game? Like you
Yeah.
got to do that to ward off the bad luck thing.
all the bad juju. I put on my grass
Yeah.
skirt and my little headdress.
Definitely.
Yep. But I've noticed that more times than not, if you do not create the game, you go second. I don't know why, but that's just what I've noticed. I could
will
be
go
wrong.
ahead and check. Yeah,
It could be random, but I've noticed when you don't create the game, you tend to go second. Tend to. It's not all the time. I'm not going to say it's like if you don't create the game, you'll always go second. It doesn't always work that way, but it just feels that way.
It should be a 50-50
It should be a 50-50 chance, but I tend to notice that I go a lot more second when I've not created the game. Also, whenever I mulligan, I will end up with 4 of the same cards that I just shuffled back into my deck, which seems like far too many for what I got. But again, it probably I'm not saying it's not random. I'm just saying this is just how it feels. Like, oh, hey, did you just get the 2 TMTPs mulligan? Oh, look, they're both back.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. So, definitely getting stuff back on mulligans that you didn't want, it feels bad. But I do think, to me, the main differentiator between if I want to go first or second is, do I have a specific card that I really want to play first?
Mhm.
And therefore, not so much. Sometimes it can be, and I want to play it before my opponent does anything. But often that's not as much the case as if I am the first player, I draw 7 cards. Right, that's a slightly better chance of getting it. And if I don't have it, and I just hard mulligan for it, I'm drawing 6 cards. So again, a better chance to get it than if I were going second. And so to me, that is the stronger reason to try to go first, because I've got, I really need my Jar, or hey, if I can get my Amphora Captora early, or if I can get my Transporter platform early, I want to get that. Even if I'm not playing it as my first card, I want to have it in my hand, and I want to increase the chance of having it in my hand.
Do you feel when you go second, do you, and obviously open up to anybody, and we're kind of getting off the beaten path here, but do you feel like almost obligated to mulligan?
No. In fact, I still remember I think it was Bouncing Deathcork, right? Who had a rule of thumb about mulliganing that I still remember, and I, to some extent, think it's still right often, though I think what I just mentioned about, do you have something that you really, really want early is maybe overrides this, but I think what they said was something to the effect of, if you're the first player and drawing 7 cards, you should be thinking about, can I get a better hand when I mulligan? Because you right? You're playing one card, there's sort of no penalty, redraw. And then versus if you're the second player and draw 6 cards, you should be thinking about, can I do worse? Because you're going to end up with a 5-card hand, right? If you could have a worse 5-card hand, then maybe you shouldn't. Like maybe you should just go with what you have, which I do think if you're not really trying to get something specific, it is a good way to think about it, right? Because even if you don't have the best cards, hey, sometimes just being able to play out 3 cards when you're on turn 2 and start moving through your deck more quickly, even if they're not amazing cards, is sometimes the right way to go. Sometimes that's the thing to do.
I don't know. I guess I feel almost like it's always right to mulligan, depending on the hand.
Sure. But,
it's always better to mulligan going first than it is going second. Mulligan and going second, I will more than likely keep a 2-2-2 hand than a 3-2-2 hand.
Yep.
Going first.
But you should, because the chance of going to a 2-2-1 hand, that is the worst setup that you can start the game with.
Right.
So for efficiency purposes, for being able to dig, and you're playing one of the two, but you can go ahead and come right back to it.
Right.
So you're making the right call there.
I don't know. I like to mulligan when going first a lot of the times. Just because I feel like, I don't know, depending on the deck. Like if I find that card that I was looking for, or what that card I want to play, I'll keep. I mean, lately I haven't been mulliganing anything. I just keep whatever's in my hand and go, "Yep, YOLO. This looks good. Doesn't matter what it is."
I think there's Archon's Callback from DT is a phenomenal opening card. I think that Captain Val Jericho brings so much efficiency right away to be able to play. I think that even going ahead and seeing Zenzik, extra draw, mother, daughter, those types of cards can be extremely powerful going first. But I have to look at what the deck is and how many chances do I have at those cards? If I have a higher probability, is this my top tier deck? Well, can I get to the items I need to efficiently? So I'm not really concerned if I go ahead and mulligan or if I draw. I think you got to look at your odds, and this is where playing your deck and knowing what your deck wants to do is extremely important.
So is this a non-issue then? Am I just creating hubbub for no reason?
Yes.
What?
I'll be honest. I think that FFG did a really nice job at balancing out. This isn't something that we spend a ton of time looking at, and I'm perfectly fine with having it forced. I think that it's worked really, really well so far.
Because, I guess I see other games and are like, oh, if I go first, here's my strategy. If I go second, here's my strategy. Mm-hmm. Where you don't see, I don't really feel like I see that as much as in keyforge than I do anywhere else. You think so?
No, I think there is some of that. Right now, it's deck dependent, right? But there's definitely and sometimes very much matchup dependent, right? Like, let's say I've got a card like Restigantus, right? And if I'm looking at my opponent's deck list, right, and I'm like, they don't have a lot of spot removal, right? They're relying on a bunch of big bodies to take care of this, and maybe all that spot removal is bunched up, right? I might be very interested in being the first player and playing Restigantus and blocking that one house, thinking I've got potentially have a shot of putting them in a real bad spot. Whereas, alternatively, if I have Restigantus and I'm looking at their deck list and I'm like, they've got all sorts of spot removal all over the place and board clears, like this is not like an unprotected Restigantus is not likely to live. I need to, I'd much rather wait. I'd much rather play out cards, generate a scenario where I think I can more easily block them with, taunt or with, board clear, and then putting them to blocking the house they haven't played in a while, like generating a scenario where I'd rather go second to move through my deck slightly faster out of the gate that suddenly becomes the thing to do.
Even card knowledge, being able to hold Russian Guntus till later in the deck where you can see, okay, they've played most of these two houses. You know what's been played, and you can again, Sheep was talking about react, but Resting Guntus is a great reaction card that can set you up to be able to finish keys or frankly lock the opponent out. But it comes later. It's much more powerful than early.
And so I think it totally depends, right? Depends on what you have. Depends on what your opponent has, right? I do think the set depends somewhat. I know you said that with Coda, you thought going first, Ewok was maybe better. I don't know. I felt like Coda was
during
a bit of going second.
During
was
Coda,
better
during
because-
Coda and AOA, like going second was again. I think Sheep was right. It was on Grant's stat tracker. Going second was definitely like head and heels better. Like your win percentage definitely went up, or your chances of winning definitely went up by going second. Now, again, I don't think anybody's really tracked that since like AOA. So like with Worlds Collide, when we do have things like Val Jericho and I'm trying to think Kirby and all these cards that have a lot of play and then just play more. Like you didn't have a ton of that in AOA and Coda. You had things like lab work and rusty lab work, sloppy lab work.
So it'd be sloppy lab work. You're looking at treasure map. You're looking at the terror would be a solid play.
Yeah.
You do have limited pieces that came from Coda.
Bingo.
Coda can go ahead and lay out quite a few reaction pieces.
Did you win, Sheep?
I did.
I just heard bingo. The terror, bingo.
I think even going ahead and playing an Amber against Coda, you can go ahead and have that stolen right away. You can go ahead. There's cards that can respond to it. What's the card that if you have one Amber,
Ghostly
you can
Hand.
take it? Ghostly Hand.
Love it.
So then all of a sudden it's worth 3. These big Amber generation cards off of it's a swing to get you to 3. It's big going second.
Yeah.
So Coda had that chance. I think what we're missing though that hasn't been talked about, and it's more a board game piece, but when I ran a board game at the convention this past weekend
that I wasn't invited to.
It was for charity. For
I like charity,
but Crown of Amara
Giving,
is
not receiving.
Don't lie.
You're looking at it's a worker placement game. You're playing a card, and then you're going ahead and performing that action. Having access to all 9 cards, overwhelming. Limiting it to 3 speeds up the game. And I think that's what it does for Keyforge as well. You don't have a choice. You're going first. You're going second. Done. Make your decision quicker. Otherwise, we'd have people who will stare at their hand. Well, could I go first? I can do this, this, and this. Can I go second? Here I can do. It's a nice way to get into the game, get it rolling, and just enjoy your game.
That's cheap. Can you imagine if, like, before the game started, people were typing thinking at you? That's your dream, right?
How many people I'd be stabbing?
Through the internet. Through the internet. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd like the option if I've won the dice roll. But, I do like, it's one of those weird things where it's already such a damn long game. Where you've got games that are 30 some odd minutes and going to time. Where like, okay, roll dice, you win, you go first. Like that kind of like, this is just quick and easy and done. So I do like that aspect of it, but I don't know. I wish sometimes maybe I had the choice if I've won, but I mean, in the end, I don't know. Like I hear so much about going to time and how unfair it is. I'm like, well, is it equally as unfair for who goes first, who goes second? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I figured I'd see how you guys felt. See how the community feels.
I feel like, yeah, the choosing would be that rule would be there leaning towards the super experienced players, right? Not the more casual players, right? Because the more casual players, they're not going to have. They're not likely to have the knowledge, the information, the experience with the decks and whatnot to be like, oh yeah. In this scenario, I should go first, or this scenario, I should go second, right? But they may be trying to figure it out, and is that a fun thing for those folks? And I think not having it doesn't really take away from the game, and so don't put it in if it doesn't if removing it doesn't take away from the game. Is one design concept that I know designers like to follow sometimes.
Like I said, I figured maybe there was something I was missing here. And clearly I'm not. I'm just making like WOOKIE, like I do. I'm making hubbub for nothing.
I think it's an interesting topic, right? Like I would be really curious to see if the win rates have changed, right? I feel like well, I guess there's a mix, right? Because I know you mentioned Ewok, that the big creature decks in MM and then
Worlds Collide.
And to some in Worlds Collide, like maybe that shifted things around, right? And
I don't think Worlds Collide would care as much. I think Worlds Collide's just as happy going first as they are going second.
Well, so I think I'm saying it wrong. What I'm trying to get at is the big, like, impactful artifacts, the big impactful single card playouts with like your leaders and your amphoras and your Eaton's jars and these things that are like, oh wow, right? Like I feel like there was more of those in later sets than earlier sets.
Mm-hmm.
So I do wonder if that started to sway the average win rate back a little bit towards first turn versus going second, but I don't know.
I'm curious to see. I don't imagine it would, just because most of those cards you talked about are artifacts and they're rare, and so as a result, you're not seeing them in as many decks as if they had just shown up in a common slot. But that's my initial off the cuff kind of feeling. I'm curious if that data, what it would actually show if we could see it though.
Especially if you could differentiate between sealed and Archon.
Yeah.
Right, that might be interesting, right? Maybe sealed didn't change. I could believe that. Did Archon change? I don't know. That's interesting.
I would say it probably did. I would say probably after Worlds Collide there was a change.
Mm-hmm.
I think you definitely felt the change. Where you're like, going first, oh no, well, and then you just try to do your best. But after that, it was like, going first, okay, Kirby and blah, and not redraw.
Zenzi.
Yeah, Zenzig. There was a lot more opportunity to play additional cards because cards allowed you to. So going second or going first wasn't as much of a chore trying to figure out how to then all of a sudden, I don't want to say catch up, because no matter what you do, you're always, could be playing catch up in either slot, because there's always that opportunity for this to happen or that to happen. So
yeah,
I would like to know. We don't have the tracker's not available anymore, is it?
No,
Grant stopped supporting the tracker, right?
No. So from what I understand, there's a whole story around that, but yeah.
I don't know the story.
But I will tell you, my kids are convinced that going second is better. I think when I was talking about the game, at some point I had mentioned that on average it was better to go second. So we'll sit down and I'll be like, all right, let's Schwazi for first player. And they're like, no, you can go first. After you.
You're just being good community members. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you go. No, after you. I'll go second. That's good.
Exactly.
It's all good. But moving into closing thoughts, Dan, what you got? Bingo.
Keep playing. That's all I got.
That's all Dan has. All right. Ewok?
Just gotta keep playing.
Stay safe. Hopefully we'll be able to see some of you out for the next event that we have coming up with Joker and Vault Keeper #2. So hopefully I can see some of you there. Have fun.
Drazvore?
Yeah, I'm excited for Vault Keeper. I I was like, this time I'm going to prepare so much better. I still haven't really figured out what I'm bringing.
I was going to say, and then you didn't.
Get on that. I'm slacking, but so I will definitely submit whatever I end up figuring out, and just have some fun, and hopefully do well. But even if I don't, have a good time.
All right, that's going to do it for us this week. If you guys want to get a hold of us, you guys can find us over on our Discord. Probably the best way to get a hold of us. Dr. Sheep, Ewok Jr., and Drazvore on the Discord. I am the Wookie, as always. You can follow us on Twitter at Archons Corner, Facebook at Archons Corner, and I've been streaming. We've been streaming the Sealed and the Archon events, which basically for me means Sealed. Sundays and Tuesdays. That's the only 2 days. I mean, we got Lokar, who does his Wednesday events still. That's really the only weekly events we got, right? Sundays and Tuesdays.
Yeah, Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. Yeah, that's a whole ton. So come out, play. We've had a good group. Occasionally, still get new folks coming in, which is awesome. And,
yeah, you can see Wookie play Pit Lord.
There Wookie did play Pit Lord.
I did play Pit Lord.
Play Pit Lord. We don't just mean play a deck with Pit Lord in it. We mean play Pit Lord.
No, I played the Pit Lord, and game 1, I actually played him, then killed him. I was actually quite proud. I was quite proud of me that I played him, then immediately killed him.
That's the way to do it.
So I was quite proud. And then game 2, I played him with great plans to kill him. And then I don't remember if it was Joker or JM basically said, "No, it's not happening." So I had to deal with him for another turn. So, that's a thing that existed. So, lesson learned, don't, Pit Lord equals lose game.
Yes, it always has. And so this is the time when you want to heal your opponent, Screecher. Pit Lord, I will heal you. You just stick around longer.
Yeah. So clearly some of us still haven't learned our lesson, but we'll get there. One deck at a time. We'll see y'all next week.
Happy Fortune.